hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is the channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on and talk about some books. It is officially the end of January, beginning of February, which means it is time for my January reset, where I run you through all the books that I read in January, what my plans are for February, and we just have a fun, easy breezy, cozy time. So first things first, let's get out all the books that were on my TBR for January, and I'll run you through what those books were, whether or not I read them, and what I rated them if I did read them. First up, we've got Kiss My Cupcake by Helena Hunting. I did read this book, but unfortunately I did not really enjoy it. I think the tension just completely dissipated after the characters finally got together. The third act conflict was just non-existent, so unfortunately I only gave this 2 stars. Next up, we've got Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, which was actually my favorite book of the month. I loved this one so much. It got 5 stars. I just loved how sassy the 2 main characters were. I loved that they got time on their own before any major interactions, so we could really get to know them. The way the character development sort of built and the way the characters grew throughout the story was incredible. I absolutely loved this book. The smut was good, the romance was good, the tension was sky high, palpable, amazing, 5 stars. So glad I read this. Then we've got The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. This was the last book I read in January, and I actually DNF'd it right at the end of the month because I just wasn't interested in what was going on, because there was really nothing going on except for the 2 main characters just constantly pining after each other. It was definitely a sort of young adult romance, even though it's been advertised as adult. It was just a kind of boring read for me, so this was a DNF. Next up was Guild by Raven Kennedy, which prompted a complete smash out binge of this entire series. I read all the way through to Glow in January, and I was absolutely obsessed. It took up most of the month for me, but I still really enjoyed the experience, even though I didn't love Glow as much. This is a King Midas retelling, and I really enjoyed it, so I gave it 4 stars. And lastly, we've got one of my first reads of the month, which was The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I was really excited for this one because of the mixed media, because of the campy horror, because of just the tension and the idea of all of these women being final girls and coming together to support each other and then eventually being picked off one by one by some ominous person. I thought that was a really interesting concept. But at the end of the day, I just found it really sort of lackluster. I gave it 2 stars. So these are the 5 books that I read in January. Definitely a very mixed bag in terms of ratings. It was an interesting experience. I'm glad I got these knocked off my TBR, but now it's time to get out my books for February, get them off my shelves and present them to you guys. But before I do that, the other books that I read in January were The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which I gave 3 stars. In the Market for Murder by T.E. Kinsey, which I gave 4 stars. Glint by Raven Kennedy, which I gave 4 stars. Gleam by Raven Kennedy, which I gave 4 stars. Glow by Raven Kennedy, which I gave 2 stars. And finally, Saga Volume 1, which I gave 3 stars. I also DNF'd 2 books. They were A Very English Murder by Verity Bright, I believe. That was Kindle Unlimited. And then Fate's Rebellion by Whitney... Can't remember her last name, sorry, I'll put the cover up on the screen for you to see. In total, I read 10 books in January with 3 DNFs. Let's go and put those books back on my shelves and get out all the books for my February TBR. First up, we've got The Roommate by Rosie Danan, which is essentially about a girl who moves cross-country in the US to go and move in with her childhood crush, only to find out that he's actually shacked her up with one of his friends. She has no idea who this person is, and then she does a bit of research about this guy and realizes he might destroy her reputation, this good girl reputation she's trying to build. Then we've got It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I've heard this is an incredibly moving story inspired by the author's mother's own experience, which I know is just absolutely gonna break me. I'm really excited for this one. Next up, we've got Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, another STEMinist romance from this author, this one following B. Koenigwasser, who I believe gets offered to co-lead on a project from NASA, except she hates the other person who is leading with her and believes this person's been trying to sabotage her, until all of a sudden she finds all of her stuff is going missing and he seems to be on her side. So I'm loving Ali Hazelwood's sort of fanfic style of writing, and I hope that I will love this one too. Then we've got Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin, a book that's been on my TBR for literally forever, and it's about time that I finally got around to it. This one apparently follows a witch and a witch hunter who are forced into marriage for some unknown reason, and I don't want to know what the reason is because I'm going into this one completely blind. And lastly, we've got Realm Breaker by Victoria Aveyard, which follows a sort of ragtag group of individuals who are brought together in kind of Six of Crows style, I guess, in order to save the kingdom from a sort of evil force. So super keen for this one. Love the sort of sprayed edges on this. That is my February TBR. Another book that I want to get read in February is Saga Volume 2. I read Volume 1 obviously in January, and I'm actually really keen to get stuck into this one, so hopefully we can add this to the list as well. So let's put all of these books onto my TBR cart. And lastly, I want to do a quick flip through of my reading journal, which I forgot to do last time because I didn't have it all sorted, but now I do. So I'll run you through the pages that I created for January, my sort of yearly pages, and then also the pages that I have put together for February. So let's go and do that now, and then I will close up this video. Okay, so the first page of my reading journal, lovely blue cover, is my reading goals and my channel goals. So my reading goals are read from 2 diverse authors every month, which essentially just means I need to diversify my reading taste to something other than just all white women. So I read from 3 men this month, so that counts as a check in that box. Finish 1 series per month. I got up to date on 3 series, so check in that box. Book buying ban, did not do that. I think I bought like 14 books this month, so definitely not good. As for my channel goals, 10 new subscribers per month. I did reach that in January, so thank you very much guys for helping me with that one. 2 game or tag videos per month. This is not something that I did because all of my content was wrap-ups for the previous year, so definitely didn't accomplish that in January, and I also did not accomplish 2 vlogs per month, but we're already making a change on that in February. I've got 3 vlogs currently underway. Next up is my Goodreads goal tracker. So this essentially tells me how many books I need to read each month on average in order to reach my total goal of 150 books for the year. In January, I was supposed to read 12, which would make a cumulative target of 12, but I only read 10. So far 10 books read so far this year. I don't count DNFs in this. So I need to get a move on essentially. Next up, we've got my 2023 5-star predictions page. The only change to this one is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. I read this, so I filled in the 5 stars that I gave that book. Series I want to finish page, didn't finish any of those, so we can skip that very promptly. Next up, I've got trackers for my 2 sort of major TBRs that I want to keep track of this year. The first one is my 23 must reads for 2023. In this one, I actually ended up reading Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, Guild, DNF'd The Road Trip. So that means I got 3 checked off of this list, so I'm down to 20, which is very exciting. Next up, we've got my 26 before 26 TBR. I did a lot more on this one, so I've got Thunderhead, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, Babel, Belladonna, As Good as Dead, and The Night Circus, which I DNF'd. Also got Book Lovers, Guild, The Road Trip, which I DNF'd as well. So that makes a total of 9 books on my 26 before 26 that I've actually read. Next up, I've got my owned TBR page, which is where I track whether or not I'm actually reading the books that I own. So in pink is all the books that I've read on my TBR prior to 2023, and then in brown is all the books on my TBR that I DNF'd prior to 2023. You can see in green, those are all the books that I've read so far in 2023. And then lastly, we've got this one little orange book over here, which was my DNF for 2023 so far, The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. Next up, I've got my TBR tracker, this beautiful page here. So I essentially track the number of books I've bought, which was 17, definitely did not follow my book buying ban, the number of owned TBR books that I read, which was 9. Sorry, made a little mistake there. It was only 9. The number of KU books that I read, which was 1. I DNF'd the other 3. And the number of Scribd books I read, which was 0. Haven't had a chance to fill out this page yet, but essentially Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail needs to go here because that was my favorite book for January 2023. Then I've got my social media tracker where I track the number of BookTube subscribers that I had by the end of the month, which was 228, plus the number of BookTube videos that I put out, which was 13. Then we've got the number of BookTok followers that I had by the end of the month, which was 36, and the number of BookTok videos that I put out, which was 11. I really want to get these two numbers up a lot more. And now we've got my January pages. So this is the TBR that I started the month with, and I track whether or not I read them with these little checkboxes, and if I DNF them, I put it in pink there. The only books that I didn't read were The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie, Beautiful Disaster by, I think it's Jamie Maguire, and The Deal by Elle Kennedy, but all the rest of the books on my TBR I managed to read. Then I track my pages read every day in January, so I read a total of 4,735 pages, which I am super happy with. Then we've got my full list of January books read, including my DNFs, so I've run you through that before, so no need to go through that again, but that's what that looks like. And then I write out my reviews for every single book that I finished all the way. I don't put my DNFs in here, I just do the books that I finished. So we've got The War of Two Queens, The Final Girl Support Group, In the Market for Murder, Guild, Glint, Gleam, and Glow, Kiss My Cupcake, Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, and finally Saga. Now we've got my February pages, the 6 books on my TBR currently for February. February pages read, which I obviously have not filled out yet because I haven't even finished the first day in February. February books read, again, haven't finished a single book. And then we are on to the blank pages for some February reviews, kind of looking like these, but with this sort of love heart theme, which I really love. So that is my reading journal. And that is the end of my February reset. Thank you for joining me for this super chill, easy video. If you made it to the end, then let me know down below anything that you'd like me to add into future videos, or any books that you're excited for me to read, or if you've read any of these books, I'd love to know your thoughts on them. Hopefully get me hyped up for some of these, or just let me know what you're reading at the moment. If you're loving it, if you're hating it, come and chat to me in the comments down below. I love talking to you guys and I do my best to reply to every single comment. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell all down below. It is a super easy way to help my channel grow, and I will see you lovely people in my next video. Bye!